What if nobody reads your book? Should you even bother finishing it and continuing to write? I get that question a lot. People are concerned about either the fact that readers are not buying it, or the fact that they don't feel like they should share it, or nobody's really responding to them. And they're worried that maybe they wrote a crappy book. If you're new to this channel, I'm Shirley Jump. I'm a New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal bestselling author. I've sold 8 million copies globally in 24 countries, which even I can't believe sometimes. That's just crazy. That's a lot of copies. And I'm here to teach you how to write a better book because I want to read better books. So if you're writing your book and nobody's reading it or nobody's raving about it, what's the point to keep writing, right? Maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should just throw it away. Don't do that. I know the temptation because I realize that writing a book is a very personal thing. I have been rejected a lot. You guys have seen my videos on the hundreds of rejections that I received. In fact, I just received a rejection this month for a book that my agent has out on submission. This is one of 12 editors she sent it to. It's very possible the other 11 will reject it too, but that's okay. Because you know what? I can write another one, and I can write another one after that. And maybe they won't buy the next 5 books I write, but I love this job so much that I will keep trying. Now, I have sold a lot to a number of houses. I've worked for most of the big 5 traditional publishers in New York, and I continue to have contracts at a couple of them. So this book is like another step outside of the genre that I've been working on. Now, if nobody buys it or nobody reads it, should I keep trying with this genre that I was rejected on? Absolutely. And why would I put myself through that agony? Listen, I started out with a lot of books being rejected. I started out with writing 10 books in 8 years that no one read and no one liked and no one bought. And this was back in the day when everything was done by snail mail. I think it was just towards the end of all of my rejections that things started happening by email because I am a dinosaur. But that really could have stopped me right there. And I could have said, no way, I am not going to write anymore. I suck. Obviously, I'm just going to quit. But I didn't. I kept going. Even though all the stars were saying, go in a different direction, Shirley, do anything other than write fiction, including my own agent at the time, who's no longer my agent, who said, maybe you don't quite have what it takes. But I'm so glad I did stick with it. I'm so glad that I finally did sell a book and went on to have this career because you know what? Every good thing that has happened in my career has been because I didn't quit. Everything that went wrong and then ended up working itself out, or every right that I took that became a left, and every backwards decision that became a forwards decision, every one of those happened because I had perseverance, because I didn't give up and I kept trying. There's 2 key reasons why you don't want to quit writing, even if nobody reads your book or people tell you it's crap. You want to keep writing because, number 1, it gives you personal growth. There's nothing like a whole hell of a lot of rejections to teach you that you can keep going. You didn't quit the first time you learned to drive a car because it was scary and there was a lot of knobs and buttons and dash things and all this other stuff and some cars going by you. And you especially didn't quit when you first got up to walk and all you did as a baby was run into stuff and bump your head. You kept going and you kept picking yourself up and going again. And what that did was teach you that you can fail and survive. You can fall and you can get up again. You can do scary things and keep going and do the next scary thing and the next scary thing. When you quit on your creativity, it's telling your brain, I'm not good enough. I suck at this. I should never do this. And you have this gift of storytelling. When you give up on it, it tells that little part of yourself that loves to write to just be quiet and go away. And that's sad. Isn't that sad? Now, don't get me wrong. There were a lot of times when I wanted to quit, when I was just like, this is so hard. Nobody wants to buy my books. Nobody likes me. Or if I got a bad review and I was like, this really sucks. People hate my book. And what I learned to do was to ignore that, which sounds easier than it is. But I did. I stopped reading reviews. I very, very rarely read reviews. Every once in a while, I will go on to check a book's ranking or something like that, and I will stumble across a review. And if it's a bad one, it can kind of hank me for days. And I also try not to watch bestseller status to kind of see where my book is doing, because I found that success was just as debilitating to me as failure. So I would get too worried about, well, is this book going to sell X number of copies? And if it doesn't, what do I do? Or is this book going to stay at this level? Is it going to go to that level? But if somebody else comes, it was too many things to worry about. What I could concentrate on was how much effort I put into the words that I was working on today. And that's what I really learned to focus on. That created a lot of personal strength. And I think a lot of that came from being rejected over and over again and realizing I would survive. Like, yeah, some editor hated my book, but it's not going to be the end of my world. I'm just going to keep writing. Those things will teach you personal and emotional strength. And that is key for having a career in a very fickle, very up and down industry. The other thing that writing books does that I don't think a lot of people talk about is it gives you a sense of like personal agency. Because when you sit down to write a book, you are 100% in control of that world. And for me, when I started writing, the rest of my life was pretty chaotic. And this world that I created was the one thing that I controlled. And I'm probably going to get a little emotional right now, which I don't really want to because I'm on camera. But I started writing books when I was about 8 or 9. And I went through a pretty traumatic moment in my life back then. And I think I turned to books and to writing to escape all that and to sort of create a world where I could see happiness and joy. I stuck with that through all of the other things that came afterward because I had a lot of years that were very difficult emotionally and personally in my life. And writing was my way to control my world and control what happened, whether people died or lived or fell in love or didn't, all of those things. I was basically creating my own version of a utopia. As a side effect, I realized that I gave myself hope. Hope that that existed. Hope that that kind of man that I was creating in the romance novels I wrote existed. And side note, I found him and have been married to him for 3 years. But hope that I could find a world that was brighter, more forgiving, more embracing of who I was as a person. And the more I did that, the more I learned that that world did exist. So by starting with controlling what was on the page, I was able to find a world that welcomed that outside the page. I'm not even sure if I'm making sense here. Writing also took away a lot of those fears and inner doubts that I had in real life. When you're a kid, like you just go around fearless. You jump off things and you fall off things and you're just like, I'll get up and do it again. As you get older and as you experience traumas and things that make you insecure or afraid, you lose that childlike ability to just go for it. But when I started writing, I was able to go for it on the page. Now, as I kept getting rejected, it was a lot like being a toddler and running into the wall or falling off the stairs. I fell down the stairs, by the way, at my mom's house 3 times as an adult because I'm clumsy. And it's a wonder I survived that triathlon that I did. But honestly, it taught me that I could pick myself up and keep going. So it gave me some of that childlike ability to take the risks and not worry about the consequences. Now, once you have a career in this industry, you do have to worry about consequences a little bit more because you're trying to meet publisher expectations or your own financial expectations. But if you can learn to let go and trust your gut and just go for it, you will be a much happier author in the long run. The second primary key reason why you should keep writing, even if nobody's reading your book, is because it teaches you how to write a book. I don't recommend anyone publish their very first draft of their very first book because I guarantee it's crap. Absolutely guarantee it's crap. It's kind of like expecting the first time you remodel your house, you're going to be an Architectural Digest. Probably not going to happen because there's so many little things you don't know until you have experience. And experience is gained by doing it over and over and over and over again and failing. A lot. Experience is not gained from success. Experience is gained from failure. So you need to write a lot in order to figure out how to write. You also need to read a lot to figure out what goes into a good story. I cannot tell you how many people I meet who say, well, I don't really like to read, but I want to write books. I'm sorry, but those two things go hand in hand. If you can't study what is good and excellent out there, how on earth do you expect to create something that is good and excellent on your own? When you're writing just for yourself, without any expectations of sales or editors or agents or anything like that, you are giving yourself the space to learn and grow. You are giving yourself the opportunity to become the author that you're meant to be. So take the pressure off yourself that I've got to sell this book because this is the first one that I wrote, and say, you know what? I'm just learning here. If you keep doing that and you keep trying harder and learning more and more by watching channels like this one, reading books like Writing Compelling Fiction or any of the others that are out there that talk to you about how to write, if you keep doing that, you are not stuck where you are. You are not stuck at the beginning. You are moving closer to where you want to be. Every step you take to get a little bit further down in the knowledge path of how to write a really compelling book gets you closer to writing a really compelling book. Just because you're writing a book right now that nobody is reading doesn't mean the next one will be like that. It just means that you are still learning. And that is the best part about this career. It is one where you are continually learning to become a better author. So put your ego aside and start really looking at and dissecting how a book goes together and applying those lessons to your own. I have a whole bunch of videos that are on that kind of thing. And don't worry so much about who's going to read the book right now. Write it the best you possibly can. Let it sit for a couple weeks. Come back and rewrite it the best you possibly can. And maybe let it sit again and do another rewrite. I have a series on revision where I talk about how I go through 3 revisions with every single book. And that's a big part of the process. Like I write as well as I can right then and there. I go back and I fix and tweak and fluff and do all these different things to make it better. Come back and do it again and do it again. Because it's never, ever going to be perfect. It's only going to be the best you can do at this possible moment in time. And every single word you put on the page makes you closer to being an excellent author. So don't quit. Don't stop writing. Keep writing. And keep watching this channel. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And if you have a question about writing, drop it down below. And I'll see you on the other side of the page.